Salut! For today's video, I'm going to give you a little bit of kind of fun facts about how French works in the world and where it's spoken in the world. Most people that come to take a French class are pretty well aware that French is spoken in the country of France on the continent of Europe, but beyond that they're a little bit shaky on things. So hopefully today's video will give you a little bit more information about just how useful knowing the French language can be. So we'll start with 10 facts about French and the Francophone world. Francophone is just a special way of saying French speaking. So fact number 1, French is second only to English for the number of countries where it has official status. That means in all the countries in the world, English is an official status as an official language in the most of them, but French has the second largest number of countries as its official status. Second fact, French is the only language with English that is taught in every country of the world. Totals around 100 million students of the French language and 2 million teachers, so you are definitely not alone in your studies. And finally, for this page, French is the working language of tons of international organizations. Some of them that you probably have heard of before include the United Nations, also known as the UN, the European Union, also known as the EU, the International Red Cross, Amnesty International, Doctors Without Borders, and the International Olympic Committee, those folks that put on those summer and winter games, also use French on a regular basis to conduct their meetings. That's what it means when they talk about a working language. It's one of the primary languages that they use amongst all of the people in those organizations to communicate. So even though they are international organizations and can use several different languages because they represent several different countries, they choose to use French as one or only of their working languages. If you need to, you can pause the video at this moment and get these jotted down, but otherwise, let's go ahead and keep going. Fact number 4, between 6 and 11 million Americans speak French. It's a pretty big gap there. It probably has to do with people that have learned French as a language in high school, but they may or may not continue to use it on a daily basis. Fifth fact, in the United States, French is the number 4 native language and the second most taught language after Spanish. So top 3 languages, I'd imagine probably English, Spanish, and I'm not quite sure what the third is, but French is the 4th most spoken language for the native language. Native language means the language that you learned when you were first learning a language when you were a kid growing up. As far as languages taught, though, you've got number 1 is Spanish, which I best you could have guessed, and French is number 2 in the United States as far as taught languages go. And then the last one for this page, number 6, Quebec, which is a province, fancy schmancy way of saying a state in Canada, you know, that country just north of us. It's the 6th largest trading partner of the United States, and over half a million Americans work for French companies. So if you're going to be working for a French company, wouldn't you think knowing French would probably help you out? Job security, folks. Foreign languages can help you with it. Our 7th fact is that in the U.S., half of foreign films watched and 30% of foreign books read are in French. So it's really easy to get out there and find some French movies. I see them on movie channels and Netflix all the time. And then French books are a little bit harder to find, but they're definitely out and about. Fact number 8, French film production, with 500 films per year on average, is number 2 in the world. I bet you can guess which country is number 1. No? It's us, the United States. For number 9, France is the most visited country in the world, with 75 million tourists visiting every year. So a lot of people like to go to Paris. A lot of us Americans like to think that it's the United States, but it's actually France. And for your 10th and final fact today, the latest edition of the popular comic book Asterix was translated into 23 languages, because it's not just people in France and French speakers that are reading this comic book, it's read all over the world. So again, it's one of those languages where, especially in the United States, we forget that it's actually very useful to know on an international scale. Pretty much anywhere you go in the world, you'll find somebody who knows how to speak French. Which brings me to our map. On this map right here, the countries that are in orange are French is an official language of the country. The ones that are in green have an awful lot of French speakers, but it's not necessarily the official language of the country. Some of the countries listed here have more than one official language. So like Canada, for example, right here, obviously Canadians speak English, but there's enough French speakers specifically in Canada or in Quebec, in that region, that are French speaking that they actually list it as one of their official languages. So it doesn't mean that they only speak French in these countries. It means that it's one of the major official languages there. What I want you to notice, besides the fact that you do need to jot some of these countries down, is they are listed in French. So if you have trouble understanding exactly what countries they are, first of all, you could grab an English map and compare, or you could just pick 6 that you can pretty much recognize. It's kind of up to you. So right here in Europe, and I know they've got it blown up over here, is the country of France. That's where Paris is. That's where the most French speakers are, as far as that's where the language was kind of born, and that is the country that most Americans know of as being French speaking. The thing that kind of blows my students' minds is how French ended up happening in Africa, how it ended up happening in Haiti, how it ended up happening in, South America, even way over here in Southeast Asia. You've got some French-speaking countries with Vietnam and Laos. Part of the reason why French as a language spread is part of the same kind of story that we have as far as how most of our ancestors came to the United States, and that is colonization. Whenever various explorers decided to go out into the world and plant their flags in other countries and areas and say, hey, we claim this in the name of France, their language went with them. So French colonists not only settled Canada and some various areas, you'll a lot of times hear about French being spoken in Louisiana, and areas of the United States kind of in that region, because that's where the French settlers ended up. Several islands here in the Caribbean, including Haiti, Guadeloupe, and Martinique. Also St. Martin Island have French speakers on it, again, because people traveled there whenever the colonization was taking place and claimed that area in the name of France. Same thing happened with Africa. They kind of went down here and claimed a lot of these areas. These are separated countries now. They're their own entities in and of themselves, but because originally colonists came there, the language spread. So you have countries, especially like Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Morocco, Algeria should be on here, but it's not. Egypt has a lot of French speakers there, the Congo, things like that. You'll see that Madagascar down here, same kind of idea, and also the same idea with Vietnam and Laos and Cambodia over here. Some of those places where French speakers traveled whenever the whole idea of world colonization began. So go ahead and make sure that you can jot down at least 6 of those. I would never expect you to memorize all of the countries that speak French. It just kind of helps to have a greater idea of exactly where your French language can be used throughout the world. Now's your favorite part of the video. It's time for you to try your practice questions. Now, the reason why you already have the answers in front of you is, quite honestly, they're right there on your paper already. But tomorrow or the next day, depending on what day this is in class, you'll have your daily video questions, and I will ask you some questions such as these, like which 2 languages are taught in every country. Again, if you check your 10 facts, you'll see that it's English and French. And which country is the 6th biggest trading partner? The country is Canada. Now, the region of Canada is Quebec. It gets kind of specific there, but go ahead and jot those down and kind of look back at your notes and make sure that you could answer some really basic questions such as those at the beginning of class tomorrow.